Good morning and welcome to the Emerging Tech series on the Leadership and Insurance podcast. I'm your host, Gavin Savage. This is the podcast where we bring together technologists from the world of insurtech to generate insights around the rapidly evolving innovation and digital transformation across the insurance landscape. I'm very lucky to be joined today by Dipti, VP of Engineering at Omnius. Omnius are the leading provider of intelligent insurance claim automation using AI and big data to help improve insurance end-to-end claims. Welcome, Dipti. How are you doing?
Morning, Gavin. Morning. It's a nice, lovely Friday morning. Looking forward to the weekend.
Very nice, very nice. And the weather's very similar to what we're getting in the UK here over in Berlin. Very hot, yeah?
Yes, could be better, but let's hope the summer's only getting started.
Yeah, well, it started for us quite a while ago now. We're getting unusually warm weather in the UK months in advance. But like before we begin and kind of get into all the topics that we want to cover, I just thought I think it's quite nice to always start on this podcast like we usually do with just a bit about you, your journey into the world of tech and insurtech mainly, but just kind of wanted to cover that and discuss how that journey's been for you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been a while. I am an old person. So, it's been a while, the entire journey of being in the tech world. But I can start from the start, right? So I started off with having an education in computer science. And the real reasons to, ignite that passion was Super Mario Brothers, like a lot of other people have. So I think games have been quite prominent in kind of wanting to have fun with systems, and that's where it started really. So I started off with an education in computer science engineering, worked as a developer for a few years. And soon after, I actually realized that, my real passion lies in not just working with the systems, but the people who make them. So I was super interested in learning and knowing more about how to go about this. And management was something that was super important to me as a domain. And I could see, a lot of significance in terms of where companies are and why they are because of the good or the bad leadership involved in the underground, right? So that's where I started exploring more. So I got an MBA with a focus in strategy and organizational behavior. Learned a lot regarding patterns, learned a lot regarding business patterns, and also regarding the people who make these businesses and how do we go about it. So the juncture where I am right now in the role of VP of engineering, it comes in really beautifully. As there are parts of my job which are very focused on the technology side, but then there are parts of my job which are very focused on having the right strategy, having the right vision for my teams, but also having the right input on what we do as a culture, as a company. And I think it is probably a role I see myself living for a long, long time in, and always having something new to discover. So that's a little bit about my journey in terms of the domains I've worked in. I've had a very vast, if I might say so myself, realm of topics that I've touched. So I've been in the private and public forum of companies. So, worked with the Institute of Louisiana Department of Education at a certain point of time, worked with, the games industry at another point, and also having a background in e-commerce, and landed in insurance now for over 3 years. And I think I'm only scratching the surface.
Amazing, thank you. And it's not a traditional journey, and so we can definitely come back to that later in the podcast, but thanks for just giving that brief overview. And I guess for the listeners, it makes sense to just kind of, hopefully I described Omnis at the beginning there, but who are Omnis and what is your mission?
So Omnius actually has a really exciting mission, because it is to revolutionize one of the toughest words to pronounce, to revolutionize the entire insurance industry. And it's been in the space of AI since the last 8 years. So that's since the time it began. And it's, the big thing that Omnius wants to do is to make insurance more accessible, efficient, and most importantly, customer-centric to the solutions that we provide. So we are powered by AI, and I think that has been our cornerstone. We are very tech-driven as well. What we do as a product, we call it the digital claim adjuster. And to put it simply, right? So what digital claim adjuster does is provide AI as a software as a service solution. And what we aim to do is bring out of the box digital claims transformation experiences for low to medium severity claims, starting already from the first notice of loss and to the creation of payment itself without any human intervention in the court systems. So think about, the complex systems now. For these complex systems, Omnius takes over the tedious tasks so that the human adjusters in the background can really fully focus on the damage assessment. And the goal is to really provide the insurance companies or the insurers themselves with a reduced process time and noticeably increasing the customer satisfaction, the retention, and just the experience of going through a very dull insurance claim by the end of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the whole AI piece within automation and claims, within insurance, it's been slow to adopt, as we know. I mean, I think particularly in the UK, but I think it's been great to see that journey that Omnis have been on, founded in 2015. Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to ask was that experience of doing that, the experience of taking them through that journey. I think most recent round was Series A in November last year. Mm-hmm. That experience of fundraising in a year which was very turbulent, but also doing it in a space that's quite new to the industry.
Yes. So I think AI in the insurance industry seems like, two opposite things that meet, right? But the what worked for us really was the early adoption, as I was mentioning before. So we started 8 years back just using AI. There was, of course, skepticism and uncertainty around it. But the concept of leveraging AI for insurance claim automation was, an ambitious gamble. And we stuck to it. And there were lots of necessary steps to, keep to it, of course. So I can tell you a little more, perhaps, regarding what we do and we continuously do to come over such skepticism. So in terms of one of the greatest things, right, is understanding why there is this resistance and why there is, this concern of either lack of trust in AI itself, in its decision making, or even from a job displacement point of view. But what we've learned over the years is educating our stakeholders about the benefits of AI and seeing how this really, goes in line with their values of efficiency and accuracy and customer experience is very helpful. And these are the values that we have to also focus on ourselves. So we go through several steps to make this process very transparent and, also gain trust along the way. So we have a very rigorous demonstration. We get the feedback from the customers. We make our testing and validation go through several models until, we reach a point where our insurance partners are also feeling very much in line with what's been produced. So the proof of concept behind it has to, be done in a gradual and a result-oriented fashion. And we want to provide tangible results at the end. So, so there is something that our insurance partners can measure. They can know, how the traditional methods of insurance can be replaced with the efficiencies and accuracy of AI, which is also, trying to remove a lot of the bias that might have come in. In terms of the entire industry transformation itself, now this is where, the topic gets way larger. There is a very large sense of insurance companies wanting to stay competitive. And with having a solution which is based and which is tested upon and which has been, really made with a lot of love and intention over the last many years, I think this also gives us an edge in the current atmosphere where AI is understood better, where AI is also questioned more. So I think that, the current time is something very, very, very prominent for us as, as a proof, of course, of the topics we started way long back, but also in pushing us forward into challenging ourselves with better solutions.
Mm-hmm. And that's that. I think you touched on, struggling to in the beginning, I guess, communicate this to the industry you were very much playing with it before the insurance industry started to understand it more. Like, do you think that's the game-changing moment in insurance whereby, it was a lack of education, more regulations have come in? Has that been the shifting moment for you? And where do you see the future of insurance offerings now within AI?
So, see, the insurance industry has proven to be very critical and very consistent, irrespective of the changing times, right? So it is something that we use in our daily life as well. We look forward to, the insurance products being our safety net. So this does not change. What changes is the speed and the accuracy and the fairness around it and how this is provided. So the more we can use our current systems to focus on the right things, on, aligning with the goals that the insurers have, I think the journey of, any digital transformation within insurances is only going to go wider and broader. And the adaptation is something that is also going to be necessary to keep a competitive advantage from a business goals point of view. In terms of, your consumers at the end, your consumers are also now being more exposed to rather better solutions in some ways, or they're being exposed to, the general information. It is really just more accessible. So I think it is important to consider this change that is happening on a very global level, to keep an edge, to keep a step forward, but at the same time check ourselves on, do we comply with our own set of values? Do we comply with the set of values that our insurers pick? And it has to be a collaborative effort.
And where do you see it going now? Where do you see the kind of next kind of big step in innovation with AI for you guys, or just for the industry as a whole?
Yeah, so, if I could look into this little ball, or it shows me the future, I would love for the claim settlement, even just from a consumer point of view, right? So, if I do have a claim settlement, which is done in a matter of a few seconds or a few minutes, it's going to be like e-commerce nearly. It's like, getting your instant gratification out. So I think there is a lot of steps. So now when you think about where we stand with making claims, we have days to even months to even sometimes years before anything is settled, because there are just so many more cumbersome steps. And I think the power of AI can be used to break these steps down into something that is very digestible, but also very repetitive. So I think I have been in love with patterns all my life. I think, there's a little mathematician inside me who is always hunting for where the dots align. And this is where I see the future of insurance also being, that you're able to connect these dots in a very fair, in a very quick, and a very predictable fashion.
Yeah, that's always seems to be the goal with it now, speed, doing things in minutes rather than days, weeks and months. Like, do you have a kind of time scale at the moment, how quickly you guys can get a claim through, or is it still in the works to really
We
reduce
have our internal goals and we have our internal missions, and we have very ambitious ones. So, but speed is definitely on top of it all.
Yeah, yeah. No, fascinating. And like one thing I was really excited to speak about was that AI piece, but just given your background, you don't come from a traditional, as I say, engineering route. Yes, there's the degree in computer science, I think way back at Whitby you worked as a project engineer, but quickly found your niche within strategic consulting, project management and organizational change. And I think just touching on that kind of leadership and culture piece within tech teams would just be so insightful from you. And, in terms of influencing, or how do you approach building and leading an engineering team within the insurance industry, which, as I say, historically is not akin to having strong software-led, high-performing engineering teams? How do you influence and build that with your kind of background?
So I think this is there is no silver bullet to bite here. That is something I had to learn, also moving into the insurance industry after having a sense of, many experiences across other domains and industries, of course, right? So I think it is for the first time in this job that I underestimated the influence of a domain, and the domain being insurance. So, it's a very, very complex question to answer in terms of how do you lead engineers in the insurance world. So I think what helped me first is to not think like that, to say, okay, we are by the end of the day dealing with people, and everyone has their own motivations, and everyone is performing according to their motivations and goals, both in their personal and professional lives. So that's where I come from as well. For my teams, it is important for me to first relate to them as a person. And actually, funnily, I had a similar question that was asked to me by one of my lead engineers just yesterday, who's, very newly stepping into this role. And he was like, Dipti, this is the first time I do people management. I've been in this company for a long time now, but this is the first time I do people management. So how should I even start a one-on-one? What do you do? And I think it is a question we all ask ourselves very, very often, that, okay, it's you're having a one-on-one with someone who is your boss. So you don't want to, come from a wrong point of view in any way. You don't want to rub them off in the wrong way. But I think those are such archaic thoughts at this stage, right? So I think that was my first thing that I was trying to explain. I was like, you have to move away from the fact that you're moving into being a manager. And you really have to truly embrace that you are supporting someone in their current role for two big reasons. One is their personal satisfaction and happiness, and then you have the business goals, right? And neither of these two elements get personal to you. And you have to remove yourself as a person away and get very contextual. So I think that has been the way I have moved into the team as well, Gavin. Over the years, the team has grown in its shape and size. And but keeping this consistency on, hey, we are one, you always deal with individuals, so try to know the individual, and then always know what your business goals are and where you want to go and why, so you can answer and stand in for these business goals and represent them in the right way.
Yeah, and your background allows you to probably do that a lot more seamlessly. You can really connect the dots, and I know, again, it's you sort of talk about the complexity of insurance and you try and almost separate the two, which I find interesting. But I guess in the context of insurance, what specific challenges did you or do you currently still face in aligning the kind of engineering team goals and initiatives with the business needs, and how do you overcome them?
I mean, it is probably one of the most exciting phases to be a part of, because we have a lot of validation and we have a lot of feedback from customers at this point. So let's take a step back here. What happens when you are in a B2C kind of a business, right? You have instant feedback. And the difference when you are interacting with customers directly is very prominent when you are interacting with a B2B kind of a setup.
Yeah.
The kind of feedback then you get from a B2B is different. It is centric to, what is the efficiency that you're bringing in? What is the accuracy that you're bringing in? And we are in a lucky position right now to get a lot of this feedback. It is not so common to have it. So I think these are the factors of, the information that is distributed, perhaps not just with engineers, but with broader departments. And I find it important for me in my role to gather this information up and also share it with the broader engineers. And, when you were talking about the motivation and the challenges that the engineers face, or, we as an engineering department face, I think this is the missing piece to it. This is the gap to fill in, to actually understand how our solution is being utilized on the other side. So when we have a digital claims platform to service, then we need to understand the kind of potential risks which were identified. We need to understand if, the predictive advice that is being provided by our AI models actually is in sync with what the business is doing in the background. So, we want to actually significantly speed up the claims process. That's been the backbone of a lot of topics that we are currently doing. So we also go back to asking ourselves these questions within engineering very often. We want to know, how claims are analyzed by the human adjusters. We want to understand how certain decisions are being made. And, and then we want to automate these process steps. So in terms of the personalization, that is also a big goal, which is provided by the insurance industry right now. We also need to go in and understand the personalized policies, which are based on individual risk profiles. So I think we intuitively get very close to our customers by wanting to replicate, these process steps and make it very customer centric by living that life for short bits, for, going through those journeys, even for a short bit, and, using our engineering skills on top to recognize what could be, a potential step that we automate versus what are the steps that we need to go back and ask. So having this kind of a fluid partnership, but also a very emphatic one with our customers, is critical, and bringing the engineering team really close to these topics is a difference from, what I see we do with a lot of other industries. For example, it is necessary for us right now to have the knowledge of claims adjustment rather seeped in across all the roles in the company. So there are a lot of things that, we as a company do in terms of this continuous learning environments to keep up with the technology changes. We have regular training sessions, we make hackathons, and we have our knowledge sharing sessions where these exchanges happen internally with, a broader scope of how our insurers are doing their everyday businesses.
So interesting. You talk about connecting the engineering to the humans claims adjusters, connecting them to bringing them closer. but you do all that from a very far distance. You know, your team's all fully remote. The
Yes.
teams all across Europe, you really champion full autonomy at all levels. I think that's a really interesting point that, of course, you can provide a lot of insight in on that. One,
Yes.
building a culture fully online, and two, maintaining it and making it better.
I think there is a lot that has to do with, how we want to operate as a company, right? So there are a lot of topics that we bring out from a company point of view on where our culture needs to stand. So in those regards, what we also do is we, give an opportunity to a lot of our team members to rotate their roles. So this kind of prevents the burnout. It kind of prevents them to, from that feeling of being stuck, and forces them to, use and understand different perspectives, broaden their skills, but also maintains the engagement at the end. And I think when it comes to this remote setup point of view, the engagement is a key factor that, you're always fighting against. So that's one factor for us from, opening up the spectrum of work itself. But other than that, we have, we have our hackathon or innovation days where, we kind of step out of our regular work. And given the pace at which we are moving with AI right now, it is even required for us to, step out, do more of a market research, understand more of where the technology is moving at light speed right now. So keeping up with any of these factors takes time, and we as a company want to provide this time. So we provide the time also for our engineers to make open source contributions, and to support, and to give them the feeling that this is actually even an expectation from a company point of view, that everyone reflects back on themselves. We have transparent road mapping. So, we roadmap with the entire company. We talk about our culture very often. We have we have a monthly sync with the entire company as well, with a company all hands, or a TED talk within the company, which is focusing on a certain knowledge base. And at the same time, I think what we started doing to keep the remote culture but yet feeling together alive is we have bonding weeks and we have on-site weeks. Yeah, so the bonding weeks are for our entire company, and certain weeks in the year where we have everyone come to Berlin and we share our experiences. We have our hackathon either up there, or we have company related culture building activities, team building activities. The last one we did focused a lot on feedback cultures. And so we're basically sharing our success, celebrating failures, celebrating successes at the same time. And on the on-site week is something that we invite all our new joiners to come to Berlin. And a lot of either the people who are joining new, their managers are there in Berlin as well, their teams are there in Berlin as well. So we want to facilitate this ongoing exchange, and we don't want to feel disconnected to be a only remote company. So we have these ebbs and of meeting, and then going and doing your work offsite, and then we meet again. And each time we meet, we share meals. So we have a tradition at office where we have a large communal table, and we have in-house prepared food. We're having the best of the food, but we're also sharing a lot of our stories on a very personal level on these tables. So I think our tables are way wiser than we are. It's heard a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that jumped out was the transparency on the roadmap, the constant mission that you guys are on, constantly talking about culture, and just that kind of last piece there around continuous engagement, because, I'm a home worker myself, the rest of the FinPro team are in the office in London, and, it's just, I feel like we're very good at that as well, continuously engaging on a daily basis. It's very easy to go down a road for 5, 6, 7 days and potentially not really speak to anyone. We see it a lot in remote cultures, but it seems that you guys have really got it spot on.
It took us a while to, understand where we want to go, right? So I think there is this openness to experiment with it. And, there is a willingness for our teams to also speak up and ask for what they want. And I think it's important for us at that point to start listening to what is wanted. So, Gavin, I completely understand when you say, you can be completely online and you can, be completely disconnected at the same time and you get your work done, but it's not about the work, right? We bring our entire humans each day to all our discussions. So yeah, it has been a journey. It's been a lovely one.
Amazing. And look, a kind of final piece that I wanted to touch on was more around you and your leadership. I think your job's difficult, as the VP of engineering, and it can't be ignored in such a male-dominated space within both insurance and engineering. But I think your position as a VP of engineering is just really interesting. You have the CTO above you, you have the engineering managers below you. It's a big challenge. Like, how do you kind of manage that within relation to strategy and implementation, i.e. having a seat at the table, but not quite, if that makes sense?
I know what you mean. I think the most important thing I've learned over a period of time now is I need to stop taking myself so seriously. So, it's about really bringing your true, genuine self on the table. And there is a job to be done, and that is defined, right? So if you have a genuine growth interest in bringing the company forward, there are many avenues to stand in for. And then, you have a certain responsibility to your engineering managers, to your, to all the people who you're responsible for, right? And the responsibility is to make their lives as interesting, as skillful, and as, growing as possible. So I think I come more from that point of view. Now, when it comes to being a woman in the industry, there are definitely challenges. It is something that cannot be unsaid, but we are also in a very nice, lucky position here with having, about 40% of representation on the leadership level as women, and about the same representation across the company. For our diverse hires, we have about 20 nationalities in the company. We have people speaking a myriad of languages when we meet on our bonding weeks. And then, you see these small little groups hustle away for a few minutes. You hear these, words and noises you'd not heard of ever before. And you smile, you appreciate it, you smile. And I think it is just so core at Omnius to have appreciation for differences, right? Whether it's a gender difference between a woman, a man, or, anything else that one might identify as, or, just having the difference between, hey, what are the cultures and the food and the, things we wear and the things we eat. So this has not been a topic of discussion. This has never come up as, hey, because we are we tend to just accept this diversity, and it is important for us to also, now we are not a massive 10,000 people company per se. We are extremely close knit. So this means we have to be very selective in everyone who joins into the company, that they also bring in the right set of values with them. So we have, even in our interviewing processes, in our hiring processes, we have a section where we dedicate the time, and this is one of the most critical interviews from our point of view, to, are we bringing in people who are equally open to share, who are, willing to grow and learn, and are actually also willing to accept the challenges that, a company as small but as significant as us can have. So I think these kind of safety nets have to be drawn in both while we are in the company, but also when we welcome someone new.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I mean, it's very insightful. I think the appreciation that you have for the differences that are clearly inherent in the fabric of the culture. It's not something that you sit and plan and strategize. You know, it's much more organic. It makes it more sustainable, and I think that's just a really nice point to leave it on. So Dipti, I'm just conscious of your time as well, but it's been amazing to have you on. Thank you for, agreeing to do this with us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, Gavin, thank you so much. You've taken me through a roller coaster of cycles and experiences myself in the last few minutes. So thank you. But it was really nice to have this chat. Thanks. Have a good day too.